That's a trap.
Welcome one and all to tonight's meeting. It's great to see that we've got a full deck on hand. And I'd ask Councillor Parker to lead us in prayer, please.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings. We ask for your strength and guidance throughout this meeting and thereafter as we look to serve the residents of this shire. We ask for clear thinking and sincere hearts as we approach the business matters we will be discussing shortly. We ask for your blessings upon this meeting, each participant and work and the people they represent. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and pay my respects to the elders, both past, present and emerging. We have no apologies. Is there any application for leave of absence? If not, we'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting of the 19th of October.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Myers moved and Councillor Wilton seconded. Any corrections to the minutes? Any comments? If not, all in favour? Those against? Declare it carried all the way. You secretary. We move on to the action reports from the minutes. Please state the page and the item number.
One of the first items in those lists of minutes, Mr. Chair, was a petition or an application for consideration that was to be made to state parliamentarian from Albury, Justin Clancy, about the state of the phones in this area. And a similar application was to be made to Susan May. Has anything come of that representation?
I'll ask the general manager to make comments because there has been quite a few initiatives, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So we're actually not making representation to Susan Lee and Justin Clancy because they don't have a lot of influence over the coverage here. I've recently travelled to Sydney and spoken to Telstra, who actually own the network, and I'm going to set up a meeting in the very near future with the gentlemen that are coming out to see where our black spots are. And there's also been a funding announcement made today through the federal government to look at areas and regional areas where we're not having coverage. So we'll probably look at closing that notice of motion because at the moment those two politicians will be unable to help us with what we're trying to do. We're taking a slightly different advocacy approach to get the coverage as well as the NBN coverage that we need within Greater Hume.
And on the NBN, Councillor Meyer, at the local government conference, we met up with Andrew Cottrell, and he's undertaken to go right across Greater Hume Council. He pestered me to answer an email, and I had to get somebody to play the games on the iPad. But most of them, I gave them less than 2 or 3 for most of their 25 questions. And he wants to know. I was just reporting on what I know about in Hume Shire, and he was rather shocked. And he's undertaken to do a whole survey of the place, so we'll keep him at it. Further questions or Councillor Hicks? Are you going? Oh, Councillor.
That's me, sorry.
Sorry.
Page 8, item number 6234. I'm just wondering, after Councillor Wilton and myself met with Justin Clancy out of New York Road and the residents that were concerned about the road out there, whether we should be looking to undertake a couple of the bridge construction instead of sitting on, like, hoping that a miracle is going to happen and the 5 bridges can go ahead. We all know that the prices of things are going up as we sit here and try and get the best deal, but I'm just wondering whether that would be an option to go ahead with a couple of the bridges and then put some funding applications in for the other, whatever's left over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to report that we're currently proceeding with 3 bridges at the moment with the funding we've got, and we've got a funding application in under Fixing Country Road for the other 2. So we are going to proceed with the 3 bridges. it's not going to happen overnight. It's only going to be there in a few months. They do take time to build. So, but no, our plan is build 3, and yeah, we'll mainly 2. Hopefully, we'll get some funding and get that now before the end of the year.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Linda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, 6116 on page 5, it's just regarding the gender pool. Now, as I'm only new to council, just I'd appreciate more feedback on a lot of the decisions that we make, because that way, as an individual, I can help ascertain and learn and grow whether I've been part of a good decision or not so good decision, and that's like that's the only way that I can, or the best way that I can learn. So is it possible that we have more feedback, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we will be providing a little bit more feedback as part of the reallocation of the LRCIP. The pool's functional this year, and we did provide a little bit of feedback through the General Manager's News recently. So I can say that the shell has come up, not to plumb. If we pushed it to plumb, we probably would have broke the back of the pool and we would have been able to seal it down the joint. So it's 25 mils down, but it's definitely an improvement. It was 77 mils down at its worst point, so it's come up quite a lot. And so it is getting a lot more flow into the gutters than that day when we were down there. I forget when that was, quite a while ago, where it was down in one corner and that was the only point. So now it's spilling over in quite a few points, and that's good. Coming up has caused some unintended consequences. A lot of the tile, it's a tile pool, so a lot of tiles became drummy when we topped it up, and so they all had to be relaid. It was very, very hard to get the centre seal to close, the expansion joint in the middle of the pool, to get that closed and get that water tight. It was really hard, and well, a lot of that I think was partly to do with groundwater behind the dish unit under the shell. It was pushing it through there. The water table is high as through there. So all that's been done, and I think the shell is pretty well watertight now. But also when we've been moving it around, we've had 2 water pipes break in the last couple of weeks, which I just put down to the water table plus this everything being moved around. So a water pipe around the edge is easier to fix than the shell, and so they've both been fixed. I think it's still a bit of a case of watch and see over the next few, over the length of this season, just to see what is it out of the woods. I wouldn't say it's completely out of the woods. You know, particularly when the water table, when the ground dries out again and the soil properties change again, could it all be reversed? It could, and yeah, I think all we can say it's in a watch and see type status at the moment. And these pipes keep breaking, we keep having to fix the pipes. But it's better than what it was. It's working better, but it's cost $130,000 up to now to get to this point. And what we'll probably report next month is that we may need to have a bit more money put to the side to just address some of these other movement issues that occurred, like some of the concourse drainage there isn't working now because the levels have changed around on the concourse. So it's still a little bit of a work in progress, Councillor.
Further questions or comments?
Raise the issue 6326 to us to the resolution that was suggested be taken to the local government conference by the delegates from Greater Hume regarding road funding. What about that?
Thanks, Councillor Lyon. Yes, the resolution, we added the treasurer into it. There was no point in talking to the 2 ministers without the treasurer being involved. And that resolution was carried unanimously at conference. And of course, the next day, the Minister for Regional Roads, Sam Faraway, announced the $50 million for the potholes. So,
50 or 500.
Hmm?
Was it 50 or 500?
50.
50, 51. It's been 50 years. Sorry. we missed that.
any further questions? If not, we'll move on to, have we got any declarations of interest, pleasure of interest?
Mr. Mayor, engineering, page 18, tender TL03, non-curing.
You've signed the appropriate form. Thank you, councillor. We move on to the items of the day. Environment and planning report.
I'll move that recommendation.
Been moved by councillor Hicks. We've got a seconder.
I'll second that.
Councillor Shield. Any comments?
No, it's something definitely move ahead with and yeah, see how it goes.
Is-
If not, I'll put all in favour. Those against, declare it carried all the way. Nothing in governance, so on to the community, corporate and community services. The interim budget, the quarterly report. Looks as though we're progressing it the right way in the ledger. Any questions for Dean?
Yeah, but we said, Mr. Chairman.
I have to second.
Been moved by councillor Wilton, the resolution, and seconded by councillor Farmer. About finance, there should be some question, surely.
Yeah, I've just got one, so just regarding the sports ground breakdowns, but I've spoken to David and this earlier on, and I'm gonna have a meeting with him next week. Thank you.
Any further comments? If not, I'll put the resolution. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried all the way again. Greater Children's Services, signing of a lease.
I move, Mr. Chair.
Been moved by councillor Wilton, seconded councillor Linda. The director informs me that it is a good financial investment, so I'm taking it as his word, but he's going to tutor me through it down the track. Any further comments? Not, put it all in favour, those against, they're carried all the way again. Number 3 is the closure and the sale of the unused section of road at Winky Street, Walla Walla.
Recommendation.
Move councillor Hicks, second councillor Shield. Comments? Put the motion, all in favour, those against, declare it carried.
Development now.
We move on to the engineering side of things, the tender for the sealing of the derogatory streets.
Mr. Mayor, I've declared a non-pecuniary interest, but I don't believe I need to leave the room as can we take any further part in the discussion.
My suggestion, council, would be that you sit down the back,
Happy to do so.
you stay in the room, you sit down the back. That means you've left the voting circle. We've got a resolution of that matter. Recommendation in front of us.
I'll move that recommendation.
Page 20, moved by councillor Hicks, seconded by councillor Linda. Any comments? Things the work about to start.
Through Mr. Mayor, I would say probably in the new year, no wet conditions go at the moment, I'd say.
Thank you. Number 2, the transfer of Crown Road to public road. an interesting comment from the Department of Planning. They're knocking back our pursuit of changing direction of some of these roads. But anyway,
I move, Mr. Chair.
move councillor Woodland, second councillor Meyer. Any further comments? Well, I'll put it all in favour. Those against, declare it carried all the way. Number 3,
Move the recommendation.
the gender adventure playground. We're seconder, councillor O'Neill, councillor Parkin. Comments?
Lots of feedback, which is great. Fantastic amount of feedback. Well done, Deborah.
Any other comments? I'd make the comment that I think it shouldn't go ahead for the time being. I think money is terrible scarce. 3 or 4 years' time, there'll be another petition for something extra. Everything changes every 3 to 5 years. In this area, they've got a playground, they've got a tennis court, they've got a skate park, they've got a swimming pool and a sports ground. If kids can't find something to be adventurous in that area, they're a different type of kids to what I know. But the fact is, we're desperately short of money for roads. But the matter's in front of you. I realise the staff and we've consulted with people and everything else, but in the last 2 months, I've spent quite a bit of time talking to ministers and ministers' advisors. And the message is the money that's been flowing for the last 3 years is not going to flow anymore.
Can I comment?
Yeah, wait a minute, just there. Because
This money was not received as a result of a grant. It was received because of sale of land on the promise and the premise that this playground would be built to cater particularly for the people in the Peck Avenue subdivision who are right adjacent to it. I think there'd probably be a lynching mob if it was cancelled, because people have been eagerly waiting this now for quite a few years. And ginger up the population, and I'm not sure which playground you're talking about. We've got the one down at Pioneer Park, yes, which is very well frequented, and it will continue to be well frequented, as will this one.
you play a bit of tennis, don't you, Councillor O'Neill? You should notice there's a playground right next to it.
Oh, it needs to have the slide removed, yes.
That's always the way. But anyway, that's just. But you know, I think council faces a massive problem in funding the roads. That's just my comments. And we've provided all sorts of things over the years, but there comes a time, I think, when you got to put the brakes on. But anyway, that's just my comment from the chair.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. There were 6. There's lots of playground people these days. It's increased, I feel, over the years. So it's good to see that you've sort of researched them all. In Sport Park, one of the ones that I know it's mentioned for 10 Mile Creek, is that one that we've been using more frequently lately? I just can't remember all the brands, that's all.
Yeah, in regards to Ball Park and A Play and all them, they've all done playgrounds for us before, so they're well known. They're just an Australian-wide company. Actually, all of them are quite large companies that can do that sort of stuff. So,
No further comments? Bring them up front. I've already made a few comments, but I think this society that we live in Australia, we've got to move to a user pay system. And the bottom line is, if you want to swing, well, you help pay for it. No further comments? Put the resolution, those in favour? Those against? I'm in opposition, thanks. Next item is fixing local road potholes and repair program. You wish to make any comments first, Mr. Blackman?
we still not sure the amount of money that we're getting. It's based on a proportion of the road network versus the number of people who put applications in. So I'll make a guesstimate somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000. The main reason I put this report up is that I want to commit whatever money we get to do heavy patching on the sealed road network, because I see that as a critical thing at the moment. And as stated and as shown in the report, that this will repair the high priority heavy patches. or pot oil, should I say, not heavy pressure. But there is still a substantial amount to be done. There's probably $1 million of additional work plus this weekend. Obviously, we've got a bit more, but there'll be natural disaster claims committed in, and today we've finally got approved for our natural disaster claim from last September, November events, which totals around $2.4 million. So that will go towards obviously some repair works. But obviously the events over the weekend have now got a number of other issues we're dealing with, so work goes on. But anyway, I'm hoping just to get approval for this, so I can get straight on to when our plan is to tender this work out. I'll do it under council workforce, and break it into packages, so they can be done relatively quickly in that regard. Oh, no, that's better.
And the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by councillor Meyer and seconded by councillor Parker. Would the mover and the seconder agree to have a third part of the recommendation whereby we contact the President of the Shires Association immediately? The reason being that there's an election next March. We're going to Christmas, nothing happens generally, we all know that. And all of a sudden they're in caretaker mode, and this money hasn't been delivered. And that's, we've got to make the association, we pay membership to the association, we've got to make them earn that money. So you're happy to have that in the...
Prepared to include, Mr. Mayor.
I'm happy to. What wording would you like used, Mr. Mayor?
That we, number 3, we contact the Shire, President of the Shire Association immediately, urging her to put the pressure on the minister, the appropriate minister, to make sure this money is delivered before Christmas.
Is that local government New South Wales? Yeah. Local government New South Wales. So I know who I'm contacting.
Mr. Mayor, can we only hire them in? Because the status of the roads at the moment, if we have to wait like 12, 18 months, they won't be drivable. Like, given what Mr. Blakey has just explained.
Yeah.
In relation to the comments, clearly, I believe the money will be within our bank account within 3 weeks, because they've articulated that once the grant approval is signed, they will immediately give us all the funds up front. Not like these other natural disaster grants and that, so they're definitely committed to provide it up front. And so my expectation is to have it well and truly before Christmas. And my plan is, and that's what I want to do now, is that already put in motion the tendering for the heavy patching, even before we have the fixed amount, out as soon as we can. So it will happen as soon as possible. And that's what I need this recommendation to council to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Mr. Blackie, considering that the weather event that we had over the last week, would you say that the natural disaster is worse this time than last time?
Oh, there's no doubt there's caused some bigger issues, but clearly I'm hearing that we'll probably get an extension of our current natural disaster claim that we put in only about 2 months ago. So we can undertake emergency works, and we've already contacted Transport and they're allowing us to do that. And obviously we've already repaired one bridge at New Road, and we've got another bridge on Anderson's Bridge that we're doing work probably on tomorrow. So we're doing emergency work straight away, but I'd expect the money to flow through a lot quicker this time. And but yeah, there's been more damage done because of the sensitive nature.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment just about point 3?
Yep.
I think we've got urging her to put pressure on, and I think we should look at something like onto either the government or the Minister for Roads or something like that, or the Treasurer, or Nancy. Yeah, we just need to.
That's all right. So what would have the other one?
Well, it's either the Minister for Roads or Regional Roads and Regional Development, so for the money to be delivered before Christmas. Just a bit more specific.
2022.
Pardon?
Christmas
Yeah.
2022.
Yes. Who would make that? Thank you.
I think that just.
Thanks, councillor. Everybody happy with the resolution?
Just looking at the priorities that have been outlined here in the recommendation, you know, as you said, it only scratches the surface, but I would debate some of how some of these priorities have been arrived at. And when I drive the Shire and see all the roads out that are affected, how we came up with this list.
Yeah, they've been physically inspected by our road inspector and gone out and measured on site. So he's made a judgment call on regards to what's needed as soon as possible, what we'd like to get done and what might take a little bit longer. But that was the best case scenario 2 weeks ago. We've had 100 millimetres of rain or more in some places over the weekend. So I'm not saying right at this point in time that that is it. But I guess the main thing is I want to get the money, whatever we get on the network as soon as we can. But it's $800,000 of a couple of $1 million. So, but we'll be able to get some work done under natural disaster. So we'll focus on that. But that's how the priorities were done. It was fully inspected by a road inspector and come up with those priorities.
Councillors, I think it's very important when you observe a problem somewhere that you report it through to the council, because there are. I got caught today. I travel the Georgie Wallet Road pretty often, but whether it's good or bad, I was glancing at a crop in the paddock and I came down the corner and I thought one part of the ute might have gone one way and the other way, because but normally if I had my eyes on the road, I just would have moved past that sort of thing. But somebody else could be far less lucky than I am. So if you see a problem, report it so that it can be logged in. I'll put the resolution. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried.
Just on that, is it okay? I sent a photo to the general manager and the engineer the other day of a road that actually had been completely washed away. Is that okay? Are you happy with that? I mean, it's convenient for us when we're out on the roads. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to there's no items for closed council, so we're office report part B. Both B and C have been moved together by Councillor Wilton. We've got a seconder. Councillor Forrest. But Dean, could you explain just how our investments are going up the way they are and how we're benefiting it from the chairman of the Reserve Bank?
Yes, we interest rates have moved up generally across the board. So where we 4, 5, 6 months ago we probably were achieving 2% for 12 months. We now can achieve something like 4.7%. Given the size of our portfolio, we're able to mix and match a little bit in the length of term that we invest money in, and we try to keep a cash flow going, but also invest for a longer term if we can with a portion of the money. And all of that has allowed us to build a better return. And so we're currently sitting at an average yield of around 2.66, but that will improve over time as interest rates continue to go up. One particular investment that I know of we put in for 12 months was at 4.7%. So that's the type of movement we're seeing. If we can achieve upwards to 4%, we're more than doubling what we budgeted to achieve it. And that would be a very good outcome for council, because it gives us a little bit of extra money for the types of things we've been talking about.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Any questions?
Not with the finances, just in work capital works program sheet. From where underwater supply scheme, it said it was just something that jumped out at me. It's probably been there for years, but villages water supply, but at this like the bigger towns, whereas I would have thought that was more related to the actual villages. The heading.
The water supply system that goes around Jinra and Drogery and Lockerborough is just known as the village water supply scheme. It's always been known as that. Probably when Jinra was only a few hundred people, I'd say. But clearly it still supplies Drogery, Lockerborough, and all those places. So it goes to all those villages, but it's simply its name. It's been called that. And it's always been that. And
Up at me this time, so. And in, it's not on this one, but this, it's still one of your, works programs. The, towns that have showgrounds, in the statement here, the funding source, it sort of refers to showground stimulus fund. And I think that leaves some people astray to think it's actually come from the Association of the Showground, you know, the state showground people, whereas it isn't. It's been through the Department of Primary Industry, and anyone that's got lives in a town that has a show, there's little things like that they become a little bit pedantic about because they think it's there through the show association. And that was another thing that jumped out at me because it is those grants work through this show association. It's just playing with words, but yeah, there's a bit of an argument there. Case for an argument at times to make it clear.
yeah, we can note that, but that's where it comes out as showground stimulus grant funding. That's the name of the grant funding program.
Yes, I realise that, but don't think then if it's the showground funding, it's through the actual show society. Yes.
There must be a qualification, through you, Mr. Mayor, there must be a qualification for that particular funding or grant availability.
Yes, stimulus.
Yeah.
On page 36 of the business paper, there's several comments. Over expenditure will be addressed by the reduction of capital works program. Yeah, what capital works are we reducing?
As reported previously, we're looking to remove some of the resealing program this year to undertake some heavy patching because there's no point undertaking the sealing works over roads that are failed. So we've been waiting to see what funding we'll get from the National Disaster Claim and other processes. So we'll be holding back half the sealing program, and I'm going to report to the next meeting to look at the sealed roads work in that regard. So rather than committing up front, there may be a couple of resheeting jobs. We're just holding our resheeting program until the wet weather runs through. We'll wait and see. But there are two capital programs that we can reduce and put into maintenance of the network, which we can only do at the moment. We can't do any sealing or resheeting in this weather.
For you, Mr. Mayor, could I ask you a question of Mr. Hart, please? Could you tell me, is it 26% of the National Australia Bank is where we've got our investments? Would that be about right? That's a bit concerning considering they're closing their only branch within our shire.
Yes, but I guess would argue that the bank is AAA rated. It's as safe as thanks to fee. And therefore having a high percentage in a bank that one of the big four banks is probably as good as you get.
Do we still have to have a certain amount invested within the big four, like, you know?
We have an investment policy that mandates what percentage you can have, but it's typically directed at making sure that we don't have too much in the smaller banks that are more risky. So because we don't want to put ourselves at risk of losing the money.
Yep.
We're not going to lose something with the National Bank. I guess it's just a disappointing thing that shows in the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Parker, we may be able to encourage somebody else by suggesting we can invest in their organisation.
Exactly.
Which is part of the licorice. I hope we'll be able to offer.
I agree, totally. It's very disappointing that we've decided to pull their branch out of the whole book.
On that topic, isn't it IPR, IPR that sort of give us those guidelines that we're supposed to have a percentage in those big events, and that's why we've got them there.
I'm happy to respond to that, Mr. Mayor. Look, they don't set what we do, but if we want to borrow through IPART, part of the condition of the borrowing was that we complied with their investment guidelines, which is why we had to change our practice from what we had in the past.
Remember there was quite a discussion.
Yeah,
Years ago, but
it's not mandated. The investment rules are mandated under a through the Office of Local Government, and the minister sets has what you can and can't invest in. But yeah, IPART, as I said, if you want to deal with them and borrow through them, then one of the conditions was that we complied with their guidelines.
Further questions? If not, I'll put the resolution. So, B and C, all in favour? Those against? Declare it carried. No matters of urgency.
We just need to move part D. I believe there's one small thing in part D.
D, sorry.
Better move, accept that.
You're moving, councillor Hicks,
Correct.
councillor Shields. It's in the annexes. Anybody want to comment? If not, all in favour? Those against? Declare it carried. That concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for all your attendance. I hope we have a dry period between now and the next meeting. And I don't mean from the pub, I mean